Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bengal Tiger Podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Shea Dixon. And Shea, it's Wednesday, Thanksgiving's tomorrow, but we're still hard at work over here on the Bengal Tiger On3. Never stops.
Oh gosh, never stops. And we're going to, before people ask, have a recruiting podcast. I'm gonna do one, I believe, Friday afternoon, maybe drop Saturday morning. Once we get a confirmation on who all makes it into town this weekend, it is the final weekend before the early signing period, and then the dead period begins Mondays. So, in the wake of the Underwood flip, as we're recording this on Wednesday at 3:30, there had not been any other flips, but I can keep everyone abreast there on what's happening with LSU's top 5 class, DJ Pickett, and everybody else.
Yes, so subscribe to the Bengal Tiger On3 if you haven't already. We talk about the team, recruiting, basketball, everything under the sun over there, and the message board has been incredible.
We're having fun right now on the message board.
Yes. So come talk with us over there. All these questions are from people on the message board that sent in their questions. So thank you all for doing that. And Shea, I think we can jump right into it.
Yeah, and if you're not a member, it's only $1 to join the Bengal Tiger, and you get all of On3 access. So you get to read everybody else's stories and boards and see what they think about not just the football season, the finish to recruiting next week, but portal season. Matty B opens up right after everything. I guess the day after the playoffs are announced. So we will be rocking and rolling for that. So buckle in. That's what Brian Kelly said. Buckle in, basically. He said they're ready to go out and make a splash and put more of an emphasis on it than any other point in his tenure. So I'm sure there's probably a mailbag question on that. All right, you ready?
Yes, there are. Yeah, let's do it.
I never read them before. That's why I come in I don't want to think about it. I just want straight from my head to my mouth to your ears, and that's what you get. Nothing pre-written.
I think go ahead.
Purple Tiger 2019. This might be a first-time ask right here. Yeah, maybe so. Shout out, Purple Tiger 19. Mailbag question: is Shea okay? I'm assuming this is related to Underwood. Yeah, absolutely. I'm good. I'm chilling. I don't work or coach for LSU, obviously. Now I have a vested interest given the site and the fan base's well-being. So I guess in that regard, it was a rough stretch there. But look, as I've told everyone, I've gone through 5 for 5. I've gone through not millions, tons of decisions that didn't go LSU's way. Bama taking kids out of Louisiana, them missing on 5 stars and flipping on signing day. But I've also seen them sign a ton of top 5 classes. And in the time I've been here, I've seen them win national championships with 3 different head coaches. So everything's going to be okay. You can't get too high or too low. I learned that from 5 for 5. And then Dave Portnoy basically coming out and saying that Michigan called him, linked him up with a top 5 richest man in the world so that his wife, a Michigan alum, could go out and double what LSU offered for Bryce Underwood and get him. And now stealing recruits from all the other schools, it's hard to me. I'm good. But thank you, Purple Tiger. As I said that, his first question, he was worried about me. Shout out to him. Also, where are we at with Pickett? Obviously, Pickett is, I think it's going to be LSU. He's committed here. LSU or Miami. Miami could be the team that comes in here in the last week and surges, and I'm not counting anything out. But he will be at LSU this weekend, which is obviously huge because he's back. Patrick Peterson's back. He's a guest captain. He's doing Heisman House stuff as well. So having him around helps, being around Corey Raymond, the staff, and you would think that even in an NIL world with agents and everything else, that if they're sitting down with the family this weekend and they leave and there's a few days left till signing day, that LSU can be in a pretty good spot. So we'll know by the end of the weekend. Kyler M, most underrated Thanksgiving dish and most overrated. I feel this is the one we get this each year, so I don't know if our answers changed. I think my most underrated is mac and cheese. I don't think people talk enough about it, especially when you can get it. Maybe some 5-6 cheese in there. You've got a broil on it at the end. That's underrated for me. Overrated. This is going to be a controversial take in the sense of a lot of people consider it to be underrated, but cranberry sauce for me. Like
Me too.
everyone says it's underrated, but I'm still seeing it at every Thanksgiving. So I'm gonna have to say that's the most overrated. Like just get
Me
it off
too.
completely.
Yeah, it does not touch my plate. The cranberry, everything else will touch my plate. Cranberry sauce will not touch my
So I'd
plate.
say that fits into overrated
Mm.
just simply for it still being involved for me.
Yeah, it's still a staple somehow, even though I can't get with it. Underrated. I mean, shoot, I like everything at Thanksgiving besides cranberry sauce. I think like I don't know if cornbread would be underrated, but really good cornbread is like
Okay.
top tier to me.
I would add too that just on the chicken front, underrated would be frying the turkey front, frying the turkey. Once I've begun to fry the turkey, I've never looked back. So
I
I
like it.
don't think I've eaten oven turkey in a long time.
I
So
like it. I
that'd be
like it.
underrated. LSU lawyer 24. So Brian Kelly, here we go. Brian Kelly said we're going to spend in the portal, but are we going to actually spend enough to win these high-profile recruitments? Because when we haven't in high school, or the few guys who went after last year. Well, I wouldn't say that's true at all. You've certainly spent in high school. None of this top five class really is coming for free. If
Mm-hmm.
you're speaking NIL terms, you also flipped 5 stars last year into this class that weren't coming for free, and you beat out Texas A&M and others. Granted, there was a coaching change, but they still got plenty of deep NIL pockets over there during those times to try to hold on to guys. But his point about the portal is correct. Can they go out in the first portal window and do what Brian Kelly's saying and land big names? Here's why I think the answer is going to, and I think what he brought up, Matty B's right, is that can you actually spend enough? Well, how do we know what spend enough is? What if the portal's as outrageous as NIL for an Underwood is? And then it becomes so ridiculous of what you would do to get the best player in the portal or that kind of guy. From hearing what I've heard so far, and once we get through signing day, I'll start posting all of this to the Bengal Tiger. But the portal targets are a lot of players who would be starters, who would be CJ Daniels, Xavier Thomas levels and above, as in none of them are coming in here to just be on the bench or be a
Filler.
backup. It's coming in here to provide a role for the team and compete to start. And some of them that I've looked at are no brainers. So, um, can you do enough? I think that they've put a plan in place for it. Obviously, some guys have already entered the portal, so you've already, you can have dialogue already there. There's back channels for every school with everything else. Kids aren't entering the portal without knowing at least that they'll have some options out there by and large when we're talking about kids that are this good that would land at a school like LSU. So my answer, Matty B, is I'm not sure because I don't know if it's going to get unhinged in terms of spending, but I do know that they have resources set aside and a pretty direct kind of scope
Yeah.
on we want these players at these positions and we'll do what it takes to get them and they know what the kind of value of all of them are.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of saying it in terms of the plan this year is more thorough, and I feel like they have a plan. Like Brian Kelly said, they were staying quote unquote under the cap. Well, if they're going to the cap this year, they have a plan and it laid out with who they're targeting, positions of need, all that stuff, and there's a transparency I feel like amongst the coaching staff, and there's a understanding across the board now. You don't fire your entire defensive staff, right? You don't lose your offensive coordinator, Mike Denbrock, after the year. Like, I think there's a better understanding of what the needs are and what it would take to accomplish those needs. Now, the question mark, like you said, is spending in the NIL era has seemed like it's on an upward trajectory. How much of a jump does it take this offseason? Like, will it, like, that's the only thing we don't know in LSU can't know is when does the bidding like really, really climb up for maybe some of these players? And that would be the only thing that would maybe stop LSU from reaching that point of getting a bunch of starters potentially. But I still think regardless, they will be very active. And yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a big offseason to show that they are in that, top tier of getting some game changers, like we've talked about.
We will see. It's a shortened window, but I do think from everything that I've heard from trusted sources, they'll get some solid names. I don't think this is one where you see half the group made up of guys that you're like, that he's not going to start. You know, that's a
Yeah.
backup or whatever it
Yeah.
might be. I think that everything is starter and high level of competition from what I've heard, and that's what they need. This team needs an influx of talent. Get the recruiting class signed, and then do the same in the portal, and you can make this team look different than it does this year, and that's the ultimate goal.
Yep. For sure.
These two questions I think kind of go hand in hand, but Capital City Tiger, kind of jokingly, maybe he's dead serious here, said he got an impressive NIL offer from Michigan board today. They want him flipped. How much are you going to pay to keep me, Shea? Well, considering that Michigan has now the backing of one of the top 5 richest men in the world, more wealthy, billions in the 320 plus billion than Bill Gates, than Warren Buffett, you're flipped. I'm sorry, Capital City. That's it. I do not have that kind of money, and that's just the end of it. He's
Yeah.
gone. All right, so we lost a member today.
We
It's
lost
unfortunate.
Capital City Tiger,
And he was one of our best posters.
one of the staples of
Very
the board.
active, but sorry to see him go. But so close to signing day. Now, McRib asks, how does the closing of this signing day, the early period, affect college football moving forward? And he says, I don't imagine many coaches, decision makers across the country enjoy late excessive NIL pushes, swaying guys away from their commits. Certainly they don't. Like, nobody enjoys having their commits stolen at the end. But what I think Capital City Tiger was talking about, the reality that on Tuesday, Dave Portnoy made it very clear, public, exactly how they got Bryce Underwood, which was Michigan called. They hooked him up with the wife of a top 5 billion, top 5 richest man in the world. He, who didn't even go to Michigan, says, sure, I'll help out. They give $12 million to Bryce Underwood, doubling LSU, which would have made him a great offer and on par with all of the guys who were top quarterbacks coming out. In that world, I think when it got like and it's all masqueraded as pay for play, it's being masqueraded as this influencer. That's how these NIL contracts work. Mm-hmm. You're an influencer, and then you deal with the collective, and but there's no market value oversight on what this is. If I work the Cane's drive-through for an hour, Matty B, is that worth $500,000? No, of course not. But no one's saying it's not. So that's an issue, oversight. The other, I truly do think that how public that was, and how every team outside of Michigan was like, whoa, like I figured this was kind of how things were happening with schools, but for someone to say a school can just call and get a top 5 richest man in the world to steal an LSU, a kid's commitment 14 days from signing day by giving him the highest NIL offer ever, well, where does that stop, right? Yeah. And I think that's where, as we enter the rev share era, probably in July, if the House passes it, then you're breaking down TV contracts, all that, and then each team gets the cut in the conference, and then you allocate it from there to your team. But NIL is still going to exist. So until there's an oversight on what is market value for all this, or, hey, look, this is clearly pay for play when you're describing it like that. Now, at the end, Dave Portnoy throws out that he'll be doing Barstool stuff. They've got a Black Friday thing going, all this, but the influencer side clearly came second. It was, how do we get him here to play here first? And that's one thing that I think when everybody kind of took a step back outside of Michigan fans and said, well, great for Michigan, but that's a crazy way to play the game, well beyond what everybody else has done. Even Dan Lanning, people say I was an empty checkbook from Phil Knight. This guy is 7 or 8 Phil Knights. Like, that means nothing. If they felt like they wanted to get every kid in the world who would take it, they could go get them. So that's pay for play, and that can't continue to happen at that level. So I'm curious to see what happens. How do things change? Because every year it's changed a little in terms of the rules. What happens a year from now is one thing I am curious of. I don't know the answer.
The trajectory, like I said before, is just on such a steep incline to this point. Feels like at some point you will need guardrails, but I think this was the most jarring because, like you said, of how public it was, of Portnoy coming out and just telling the story from start to finish, and us having like hard numbers of what everything has happened here. Like that's not the most common. Like we usually get like ranges, like figures and whatnot, but like having it all play out so publicly and so concretely is just it was the most jarring, I think, to college football fans around the country. So it's like this is where we are at this point, and so it has continued to climb the ladder, I think, and now we're seeing at the highest level where it's not just a North Texas player running back going to play for South Carolina this past year. Like it's the highest level of the number one quarterback in the country having a completely transparent recruiting process where Michigan pays him this much from this guy in this way, and this is what happens. And now everyone sees it. So it is it's very interesting. I do think that this will spark like some sort of change moving forward.
It's going to be we're in the wild, wild west. They need to get through the next week in portal season, and then we'll see where everything else falls from there. But still a top 5 class right now. Let's see if they close it out and then what the portal holds, which will be very entertaining. Hunter Fournette, would you rather a cold Thanksgiving but your Christmas is warm, or the other way around where Christmas is cold and Thanksgiving's warm? I assume this is not food related,
No,
weather.
no.
This is a very easy answer. I'd rather Christmas to be cold. I don't want
Yes.
to be warm on Christmas.
Yeah, no,
don't care
I
about
do not want to be
Thanksgiving.
warm on Christmas. I can't celebrate Christmas if it's 70 degrees outside.
No. Easy
Got to be
answer.
cold at some point. I'm from, South Texas. We're in South Louisiana. Like this
Nah,
is cold. Isn't even like, it doesn't have to be, snowing. It just got to be like, I don't know,
no,
50 degrees, 45, 40 degrees. I don't know.
cold. That's it.
Yeah.
Though I do
Cold.
think it's gonna be rainy and cold tomorrow on Thanksgiving down here. So
And the
maybe we'll get
game on
both. We'll get
Saturday.
cold and cold.
On Saturday,
Oh,
it's gonna,
maybe that's what I was thinking. Saturday it's gonna be cold at
it's gonna be
LSU.
like
It's like in the
45.
40s. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Uh-oh. Coldest game of the year.
I might just stay home.
Bundle up. I already told you to. I said chill. You're back home in San Antonio. Don't be driving back in to see this one game. LSU OU.
That's
Sake
all
for
right.
the playoffs.
All right. Big game.
Thomas W. Matty B is LSU basketball going 39-1.
The women may.
Oh, hot take. Fresh off a win today.
Man, fresh off a big win today, so they're 8-0 now. But yeah, the women clearly at this point should run the table in the non-conference with Stanford left, and then you go into conference play, and it's going to be fun this year with Texas and Oklahoma in the mix. Those are two.
He
really
said
good teams.
39-1, Matty B. And I don't know if he's asking about men or women.
He's definitely asking about the men, because I think facetiously it's like the men are 6-1 or whatever they are 6-1.
They both have what one loss.
Yeah, no, the women haven't lost. The men have one.
Oh, that's
loss.
right. The women
So
haven't
that's
lost
why.
yet.
Yeah, so
That was last year to Colorado opener. They lost.
yeah, the opener last. Yeah, so
That's right.
the men
Fresh
are in
off a
good
win
position
today.
though. The men are in good position. 2 wins over Big 12 teams. We'll see if they can close out non-conference with a few more big wins.
SEC is going to be tough sledding this year, but it does not look like they're where they were ranked in the preseason, right? Like the media put them last.
The 14th.
14th.
Out of 16. So
out of 16.
Close.
Yeah, but probably won't be by season's end. This looks like more of a middle of the pack SEC team to me.
Yeah, it should be competitive.
Kudos to Matt McMahon, boy. They're and this is without Tyrell Ward, which they did the same thing with Jalen Cook a year ago, starting the season without someone that you thought was going to be starting for you. And here he goes. They're off to a great start. And the women did win today, right, Matty B, by a good amount.
Yeah, won by 18. I think it was 18.
Over a good NC. I mean, you said before the game, this was a good NC State team.
Made the Final Four last year, NC State team. So yeah, that's a big win.
Pack the PMAC, people, boot up, and what is the women's slogan?
Showtime,
yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
Big Four. It's just all about Big Four. But then he also said, how many new starters we're going to have on both sides of the ball? Now, I don't presume he means basketball. I think he means football. Obviously, this is impossible to answer because I don't know who's coming back and I don't know who they get in the portal. But we played this game last week or two, Matty B, on the mailbag or on the preview. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But you had gotten up to, you thought it was like more than half the guys could be new starters.
Yeah, I think we were on like
and it wasn't like crazy to think about.
No, yeah. Like Nussmeier back, Daniels back, Anderson back. I don't know about Taylor yet, but like
Caden Durham.
Durham, sorry, yes. Chester. I think Emory Jones is coming
Emory
back.
Jones could come back.
I think
So,
so. So that's six
Miles
starters.
Frazier's done. Will Campbell's going to go pro
Yeah,
probably. So
that's 6 starters on offense, and then defense real quick.
Weeks.
Oh no, Alexander's done.
Swinson's probably going pro.
Winston's pro.
Uh,
Like in theory, maybe like Stamps. I know there's gonna be competition at
yeah, there'll
corner,
be competition there.
but like yeah, somewhere like that. Like the defense in theory
The
will
defense
like with
will have more
Pin
turnover
gone.
than the offense.
So yeah, it's gonna be around like overall starters. It'll be
More than half.
around half. Yeah, it'll
I
be
think it's
around.
going to be more.
Yeah, could be.
I think we're trending that way. And I'm not sure that's a bad thing. If
No,
we're talking about an influx of talent, then I won't be surprised if more than half of your 22 starters are not the same as they were the year prior.
for sure.
Thank you, Thomas W. Rustin 97. Oklahoma's kind of stunk all year on offense, and they go on run for 250 against Bama, which is really just a combination of Jackson Darnold running it for 100 plus and their running back running for 100 plus. But he said, which version of OU offense will we see on Saturday? I would have to imagine that one, right? I mean, I know that LSU's DBs get knocked on, but they haven't stopped the run incredibly well this year. So do they
Yeah,
outthink them?
I
Do you
mean,
outthink yourself here? I mean, you would think that if it worked for you a week ago against Bama, why not just keep
yeah,
trying it right now?
yeah. Like that's what I assume. Especially they made the change at offensive coordinator, and they've kind of just gone to a more run centered and just trying to like play keep away more so. Um, I was encouraged by LSU's play against Vanderbilt. I said this on the radio. Is like that's a really good performance. You have to be disciplined and you have to be tough against that Vanderbilt team, and they didn't give up anything really easy besides the first play of the game. In terms of their like RPO stuff, their read option stuff, LSU played it all really well. So I feel good that Jackson Arnold, while he is extremely tough and he's a capable runner, he's not Jalen Milroe. He's not DJ Lagway. He's not Taylon Green. Those type of runners that really scared me. So if LSU is disciplined like they were against Vanderbilt, I do think they have the tools to be successful. Bama's been bad at
Yeah,
times. Like
it's tough to
Vanderbilt,
compare what LSU is going to do versus what Bama. I mean, everyone in the SEC, by and large, has been very up and down with how they've looked at different times against different teams.
yeah, also playing on the road in the SEC seems to
It's tough.
just psych teams out.
Yeah.
Teams forget how to play on the road. I mean, it's obviously not that, but yes, it's very hard to win on the road. So I do give LSU that advantage as well.
What is the let's see real quick. We'll which for yeah, okay. All right, we're good there with Rustin's question. I do think it's just going to be the one we saw. I would run Jackson Arnold and I
Yeah,
would run their running back.
stylistically, I agree. Yeah, it's going to
I
be
would
the
just do
same thing.
that. And I don't know what the results will be for LSU, but if I'm Blake Baker and them, I am expecting them to try to keep running the ball instead of making Jackson Arnold throw it all over the place.
For sure.
Mitch Palooza said, recruiting question. Have y'all noticed the coaches and staff attitude strategies changing since Underwood flips when it comes to recruits in the current class? I can just tell you this. They doubled down immediately. They fixed a lot of, I would say that when things came up, they were on it very quickly. When, for instance, Texas tried to make a big move on their 5-star corner, Cade Phillips, and 4-star D lineman Zion Williams, they got them both locked in, did what it took, and neither of them visited Texas. Now both plan to sign next weekend, and everything's good there. So, yeah, I don't know if the strategy changed because you're doing that no matter what, but certainly that attitude of, hey, we can't let this get away from us was prevalent in the office. And no recruit from the class commitment visited anywhere else this past weekend after Underwood flipped. So that was good news. And they have a lot of guys coming in this weekend. So check the visitor list on the site for that. I will have it coming. But then he said, we've already seen a change from BK when he addressed the portal. I'm curious, is there some last minute pivots right before signing day? I think because I had been hearing about this portal stuff long before Underwood. And I think a lot of people are wondering about pivoting with Underwood. I think that BK just came out on Monday and said that to assure people that, hey, look, we're trying to get this signing class done. We're trying to hit the portal harder than ever, and we're trying to have more talent on this team than next year because I think people feared, well, y'all were losing games. Now you lost your quarterback. What's the state of the program? And he's telling you, look, here's our focus. Beat Oklahoma, sign this class, and go heavier in the portal than we have in terms of how aggressive they're going to be. And that message, I think, was just delivered because of the timing of it, not one that they hadn't already had before Underwood flipped.
Yeah, and I think in general, the fan again, because like you said, he's doing this for the fans more so in terms of being very so public about it.
Yeah,
But
of course.
I think with that 2025 class, maybe from a fan perspective, it's like, well, we have this great class coming in. The portal is great, but we have so much talent here. I want to see Pickett. I want to see so and so, like all these guys compete for starting jobs. You lose Underwood, people maybe lose a little faith in that, and you're like, hey, we're still going to have top end talent here, and the class is still going to be elite. So you pair that, and fans are understanding.
And if signing day comes and goes, then it's not as elite at a position or two, or if something happens to a guy or two, then go get him in the portal. And that means you didn't pay that person the NIL package, and now you can add it to your portal funds. There you go.
For sure.
There's a way to fix things, which is good. And I think LSU fans are just curious to see if Brian Kelly is going to follow through on that. And I think it's about money. And if you've got enough of it, you can win these battles in this kind of wild NIL world we're living in. But he said, game question, though. One matchup, Matty B, let's give one, he said, from OU LSU that will be a big deciding factor in who wins. I think this – I'll let you go first. I have two answers, but one's a lot more broad than the other.
I'm just going to go with, in terms of individual or group unit matchups, I'll go back to the well in terms of LSU's offensive line. I thought they played their best game in a long time, arguably of the season, against Vanderbilt. They were much more assignment sound and on the same page, and give them a lot of credit, give the coaching staff credit, Nussmeier credit, all that stuff. If they can protect Nussmeier like that, I struggle to I just think the offense is going to roll whenever they can protect Nussmeier like that. And then also the run game got going. So Oklahoma's defensive front is going to be better than Vanderbilt. They also have a great coaching staff, and Brent Venables knows how to bring pressure, knows how to be exotic at times. So the communication will have to be on point. But that is what I look for at this point in LSU season. Can LSU's offensive line protect well enough, and can they dictate the line of scrimmage? That is my number one matchup. It was against Vanderbilt. It is once again against Oklahoma.
For me, it's turnover battle. They feasted off Milroe with those picks and the pick six and all that, but the reality is this year, in terms of turnovers forced, OU is tied for third in the SEC. They're at 20 after grabbing at least 3 against Alabama, excuse me. Bama's number 1, 25, Texas 2, 24, and then it's South Carolina, who's a nasty defense, and OU. So they'll force turnovers. Now LSU sits at the bottom of that. They are 12 turnovers. That's the only ones lower is State has 12 turnovers forced on the year. Jeez. And then Auburn's dead last in the SEC with 9. So LSU doesn't force turnovers very often. That's a proven fact at this point relative to the rest of the conference, and certainly relative to OU. But the flip side of that, Matty B, is this: LSU's only turned it over 14, or has turned it over 14 times. That is middle of the pack in the SEC, but on the upper end of it. Vandy 6, Missouri 9. Then you get into double digits, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's where Bama, LSU, Tennessee, Ole Miss are. Oklahoma's at 19. They're teetering on 20. The only ones that are at 20 are Arkansas and Auburn, and they've completely collapsed at different times in games because of turnovers. So I'll go turnover battle. It seems to me whichever one of these two teams can win that one may have a little bit of an edge.
Yeah, I like it.
Quick ad read. My Perfect Franchise. We do it every mailbag, but our good friend Andy Luedecke, we will have another contest on the site this week, which will give you a free month, and actually multiple months, but time with Andy at length to talk about either becoming a franchise owner or franchisee or what all it entails. But for those that don't listen every week, Andy Luedecke is the owner of My Perfect Franchise. You can check it out, myperfectfranchise.net. But what we do is kind of help Andy get the word out about anyone who's ready to maybe leave, if it's even just leaving your job, or if it's a side hustle, or if it's, hey, my kids are out of college or high school or looking for something, and They don't kind of know which way to go, or they're starting a business. They don't know kind of how to get after it, or maybe is it better for them to be on the franchise side of things? And as a franchise consultant, and he owns a number of franchises, he's helped thousands of people over the decades finding franchises that fit skill sets, financial requirements, obviously, which is big, time, which is just as big often, and more. But the best part is he's rocked with us for a few years now. So what he does for anyone listening to the pod, it's 100% free to call him and kind of just go over things, talk about where you're at, and maybe feel out what all is out there. So if you want to, 404-973-9901, reach out. He's always there, or Andy at myperfectfranchise.net, ANDY at myperfectfranchise.net. You can email him, tell him we sent you, but he is the man and has helped out a number of Bengal Tiger members and LSU fans with expanding their current franchises, getting into it, and stuff like that, and really at every level. So give him a shout, 404-973-9901. And if you tell him, hey, look, I heard you on the Bengal Tiger, he charges you nothing. Y'all can talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. So thank you, as always, to My Perfect Franchise. Matty B, back to the mailbag. Jimmy the Rustler, when Shea mentions the time, what time zone specifically is he referring to? Not even an American one. See, this is a board joke that only board members will get. And if you were a member of the board, then you will know what is, a subscriber question means.
Yeah.
Not even European time. In the Far East, Asia, somewhere that's completely opposite. If it's light here, it's dark there. That's when I tell you it's coming, do the mental math. You'll be less disappointed in it. I promise.
All right, I promise. That's the approach right there.
Very good question by Jimmy there. I'm glad we could clear. He gave me the platform to clear that up. Go Tigers 5280 said, y'all are amazing per usual. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you very much. Go Tigers. Very kind of you. He said on offense, how valuable will the bowl practices be? They seem so close to having something special for next year. Kind of reminds me of that LSU UCF in 2018. That would have been Burr's first year into his second. I think that bowl practices are always massive, just like spring, just like fall. When you're giving 15 more practices, it's a major thing in a short window. And it allows you to work a lot of young guys that you didn't work during the season because it was a week-to-week game prep thing. But I do think that at the end of the day, often you point to that quarterback having the biggest jump. If it is his first year starting into his next year, and we're working under the presumption right now that Nussmeier would return next year, that the offseason, which begins with bowl practices, is where he really begins to say, all right, here's where I grew, here's where I didn't, and then you see what happens in a full offseason. So I think they are invaluable. 100%, Matty B, unless you disagree.
No, I agree. I think every college, every head coach, every coach at the college level will tell you how important bowl practices are.
Half of them just want to make a bowl, like, so they get the 15 practices.
Yes.
Like if they're teetering, it's like, it's more, I don't care about the Pouillon Weed Eater Bowl, but I do care that I just got 15 more practices with my team for next year.
Yeah. And they're not, players aren't going home upset or going home right before the portal and everything. And it's just in general a better vibe when you get those practices. It's usually a little lighter to start. And, I just think, especially we assume LSU to be retaining, most of the staff, or, a majority of the staff at the very least, if not all of it, then it's huge for those guys, especially with some of the young guys that we know in the rotations right now.
And he said on defense, a lot of blame with the safeties is on Brian Kelly, but are we letting for Jake Olson, first year safeties coach, off the hook here? Sage Ryan, I could hear an argument for, but I don't see an explanation for keeping Gilbert on the field at all. And Olson sees that in practice every day. Well, here's the reality. So does the DC, who makes changes over Olson if he feels like it. So does the secondary coach and Corey Raymond, who could probably trump Olson if he felt like it. I doubt Corey's that type of dude anyways. But so could the head coach, obviously, which he references. Here's the reality. The guys behind them are clearly not better right now, or they would be playing. They tried playing, like Jordan Allen played, then he got turf toe, then we haven't seen him again. They've put Deshaun McBride in games. we've seen Deshaun McBride just not make tackles. This was the same thing that happened coming out of Denham Springs, where he broke the program's record for picks. But everyone said that was an analyst. They said, look, he's a top 5 safety, but the only knock is he's going to need to bulk up and he's going to need to be a willing tackler because he wasn't in high school.
Correct.
Well, when you throw him out there as a true freshman in SEC play, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
Not going to look at that. And if your answer is, well, Jordan didn't tackle anybody either, clearly it could be worse, right? Like I am a firm believer in this staff is not playing dudes and benching others that are better than them.
Well,
they aren't good. That's if you don't think they're good in the secondary, there aren't any options right now on the bench that are going to fix that for you. I promise you.
Yeah. And the thing is now is that this isn't a one-time thing, right? Last year, they were in a similar position with Major Burns and Sage Ryan. So this isn't just one pair of eyes. Like you said, this is a ton of eyes that have watched.
There's a whole new
players.
defensive staff.
Yeah, there's a whole new defensive staff. And so from a development standpoint, I don't blame them for the play of a Major Burns and Sage Ryan and Jordan Gilbert. I just don't think they're quite good enough. But then also on the other side of the spectrum is like a Jordan Allen, like a Jordan. Why am I blanking on
Joel Rogers?
His name, yeah.
And Kylan Jackson,
Javian Toviano, Kylan Jackson. Those guys were here last year. Like this is now 2 separate staffs that have also seen them and been like, oh, we're gonna stick with these guys. So it's never this cut and dry in terms of just play these freshmen, especially when you are still trying. The difference, like we've talked about for LSU, the difference between going 8-4 and 6-6 is massive to me. And I think to fans, I like even the difference between 8-4 and 7-5 to me is distinct. So you need to play these games to win. You can't just tank it and you can't just try to get guys on the field. That's what maybe the bowl game's for. But even then, they're going to try to win that game. So at the end of the day, you play who you think has the best chance of winning. And this is now 2 staffs that have believed that. And I think it's more of an indictment on maybe the overall talent level than it is the coaching staff.
No, nobody is saying with any player on the team that the coaches think he's like the best player in the SEC, and anybody who doesn't think so is wrong. Yeah. Like there's not that nobody, you can't work under that presumption too. Like they're not benching guys for other dudes. Like, what do you think? They're scared that those guys are going to transfer out? What's your, so like there is no hidden agenda here. There's they're not playing them because there's veterans who they clearly feel are going to put them in better spots, even if it's not perfect. Or even if it's rough at times. It just is what it is right now. Coach K7 says, with portal additions and impact freshmen, do you think we will be back to a top-tier SEC defense again next year? Top tier, I cannot say that, no. I think the goal, again, is gradually getting better. And maybe with this portal approach and freshmen coming in, you get gradually better, maybe even markedly better, but you also get better for the future because you're maybe playing some young guys at corner who are there for 3 years and are getting a lot of starts who are pretty talented or whatever it might be. I think they're going to get some guys in the portal at the D line. I think they'll probably maybe linebacker. I'm not sure of where that ends up, but I know that they'll be after safeties. If they can hold this corner class together, that's great. Maybe you add one, because I'm sure that a lot of these backup corners are going to, transfer out that aren't playing. And then they see this new wave of guys come in.
Yeah.
You replace those guys who are leaving with someone who's got talent and upside that's on the younger side, that Corey Raymond signs off on and feels like that's a good addition. Then, yeah, you're going to be in a good spot. Like Blake Baker, Bo Davis, Jake Olson, Kevin Peoples, Corey Raymond, like they know what this defense is. They know what they have to go out and get. We've seen what they've done in the signing class, which is address it very well at each position. And now they're going to do the same in the portal, or at least that's the goal. So I wouldn't say top tier, Matty B. But I'd say, again,
take a step forward.
More improvement is perfect.
Take a step forward. I think they've planted the foundation that they want, and now it's go get some more talent and take a step forward. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got there. Let's speed through a couple of these here.
Yeah, he's and he did ask about how many players do we see losing, and he said, do you see us losing 15 to 20? It's usually around that number. I think it was in that last year. So yes, and adding that number in the portal, I think they add more than 10, but they won't be adding, I don't think, 20 players. No. They'll lose more than they add.
Yeah,
which is obvious, but yeah, that's the range. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Coach K. Christian Case, at this point, why does Gilbert get so much playing time at safety? It's clearly because they feel that he's the best option.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't be any other reason. If he's not out there this weekend, then they've made a change, but that would mean they decided to the last week in the season to do it, and that would shock me. Holy Bull, what unit has underperformed more? 2023 defense, 2024 O-line? 2023 defense.
Was one of the worst in the country.
Yeah. The
Like
O-line
even
is just kind of underperformed to a degree, but we also we didn't know for certain how great they'd be. Like that defense last year was just terrible.
yeah,
It was poorly
that's
coached. It was void of a D-line coach. So this is a very easy answer. It was last year's defense.
yeah. Every time I think about that D-line coach situation, and obviously it was a health scare to start it, so that's not funny, but like the situation that they were just put in terms of like having to add Pete Jenkins in the middle of the year and just people trying to figure out how to line up on the ball, like it was just such a mess. So yeah, that was not good.
Hybrid theory. Oh, I love this quickly. Matty B, pick 2 or 3 to return for 2025. Harold Perkins, Emory Jones, Mason Taylor.
Of those three, I'd go Jones for sure, and Perkins as the second one. Mason Taylor's was the third.
Is this your preference or is this your?
No, this is a prediction.
Okay.
Mason,
I'll pick Taylor and Jones.
yeah. So Taylor is right now the third ranked tight end on Mel Kiper's. I feel like he could get a
I
second
think they
round
can
grade.
get him to come back.
But like, how
If he can
much
get a second
higher?
round grade, then yeah, of course. But
I
I
mean,
don't
top
know.
3 tight end. He's going to end the year with, I don't even know the yardage, but like
Okay.
60
All right. That's
receptions.
maybe
Like,
fair then. Okay. I can see that.
I agree. There's definitely a chance for Taylor
Perkins
and
being
Perkins.
hurt's what's going to hold him back. We
Yeah.
don't know the issue of how far along he is, even though BK said he's ahead of schedule. I don't know. Is Perkins willing to risk maybe not even being able to work out at a combine and still go to the
Yeah,
draft?
yeah.
That's an unknown.
Yeah,
I put Emory Jones as the best chance of those
for
three.
sure. Me too.
Bayou Tiger, where do we stand with Pickett? He's committed to LSU. Have you heard about the numbers being tossed around to keep him in the fold? Yes, but I'm not going to publicly pocket watch people. But I do think LSU is in a good spot, especially if he shows up this weekend. Then we'll see how things go from there. But that's the goal: is have him in this weekend, and he's expected. He said, "How many players do you think they send packing at the end of the season?" Okay, that's kind of a harsh way to put it, but how many players choose to enter the portal under their own volition or not?
You
More
just
than
said
15.
yeah, probably 15 to 20. I mean,
More
that's how
than,
much they
yeah,
had last year, right? I
15,
think that's a
20,
very reasonable
if not
number
more.
year over year.
If not more.
Yeah.
Bayou Tiger 22 once more. Any names not in the portal yet being talked about as additions? Yes. And he said, assuming this would be hush hush, but you never know. No, you do know. Every team is hush hush about it for good reason. As I said, no kid ever enters the portal without knowing for sure where they're going to go if they're that talented.
Yeah.
Cairo Tiger, my man. Do you think the portal and NIL has leveled the playing field and is the reason why we're seeing so many chaotic games this year? I can't go against it, Matty B.
I think there's a legitimate argument, and Kirby Smart's said this. A lot of coaches, Brian Kelly, I think, said this too. It's like the portal has severely hurt the depth of these teams. I think especially on the line of scrimmage. I think you see it. We've talked about it before. What does LSU look like if they retain like a Marlon Martinez or a Lance Hurd, like and so on, to where you have that built up depth to where you're not, plugging in a Mabenga who hasn't, who's still a young guy, still learning and whatnot. Like you have that built in depth. The portal has just kind of taken that depth from a lot of these top teams and now redistributed it to where, Martinez is starting at Mississippi State. You go down the list of players that are getting playing time at other schools. It just hurts the depth. I think the top end, I think is similar to what it's always been, but I just think that maybe players 50 through 80 are not as talented as they were before the portal.
Yeah, I think like you make a good point. Like I bet if LSU would have had to catch Vandy when Bama did, it might have been different. But it's the end of the year, and you're just, even if you're not as talented as you are normally at LSU, you still got a little more depth than Vandy does.
Yeah,
and it showed. Run Hamburger, happy Thanksgiving. No, he didn't. He didn't even wish us happy Thanksgiving. Damn, I misread that. He said go-to beverage. Can be adult or non-alcoholic. He says he's got water, glass of wine at dinner, then evening bourbon. A Coca-Cola with a lot of ice for me, Matty B.
That is Shea's go-to right there. Press box. On a Sunday morning.
I drink, man, tell him I drink maybe 3/4 of it, and then we're throwing it away because it's free. So then I'm getting a fresh one. I'm not drinking watered down Coke. Get out of here.
Rolls through them.
You got a drink of choice?
Jeez. No, I don't think so. I'm a Sprite guy.
Oh, nice.
So I don't drink a ton of Sprite. Like I don't buy Sprite for myself, but if I, have a meal at a fast food place or something, or I'll get a Sprite. So yeah, that'll be my go-to.
Send all your Sprites to Matty B, all your Cokes to me. That will be good. Then he just asked about the NIL. He said, do we expect part of this new aggressive NIL portal roster construction vision the program has to include an emphasis on getting our higher end draft eligible guys come back via NIL? Strategy paid off for 2023 Michigan, all in while going strictly all in on dropping bags to recruit A&M or portal FSU Ole Miss haven't. Yeah, so dropping bags to recruits proved to fail with A&M. Correct. Going all out in the portal and risking your whole season on it failed for both FSU and Ole Miss. And FSU went 12-0, but they got screwed, didn't get to get the playoffs, and now they can't win a game. They won one game, and Ole Miss is not going to make the playoffs. So neither of those are sustainable. Neither of those are good ideas. I think the reality of it is they always want their guys to come back, and they were using NIL deals to get guys back last year. So they'll be aggressive in doing that again this year.
Yeah.
Here's the good news. They have a lot less first rounders. Like they have one guy maybe who's going first round this year. So
yeah, and
it's
Campbell's
a lot easier to get them back this year than it would have been in last year.
You're not bidding with a top 15 pick or, Campbell, I assume to be gone. The rest of them, like you said, Jones, probably not.
Yeah, they're not on any mock drafts right now.
Not a first rounder at this point. Nussmeier, maybe Fringe, probably not a first rounder. So yeah, it's a lot easier, like you said, to get them to come back and have the NIL ready for them.
T's Alma won, first time, long time. It's actually true. Now that looking at it, his question. So thanks for the question, man, or woman. While every situation is different and factoring in the portal, what is the interaction between a coach and a recruit when they flip at the end of a cycle after being committed for an extended amount of time? For example, does Sloan go cold turkey on Underwood, stay in contact to the very end? Yeah, I don't think Sloan's given Bryce Underwood any calls beyond probably a text or something. I don't know. Maybe they've talked, but no, certainly with a thing like that, you ain't too happy. But
yeah, I mean, it's over at this point.
So
we got asked that a lot last podcast. Yes, it is over.
But yeah, but do you stay in contact till the? Not really. Maybe y'all have one conversation. Sorry, I flipped. Whatever. Thanks for recruiting me, but that's the end of it. But no, they don't stay. Not if they're flipping on them and not telling them and stuff like that. Absolutely not. J87, happy Thanksgiving. Thanks, Jay. He said Josh Williams did have a career game against Vandy. Matty B, was it different schematically with the run game, better blocking up front, or both? I think Brian Kelly just said it. Yeah, they just blocked well, and they executed well, and they kept it simple.
Yeah, and give Josh Williams credit for making.
Yeah, and let's give Josh Williams credit. This man was running into lines and then just disappearing and running for 30-yard touchdowns.
Yeah, so give Josh Williams his credit. I think they run blocked better as well, but in general, I think they kept it simple. Brian Kelly talked about it after the game, and they just executed it. I think Vanderbilt has had success this year, but in overall, LSU moving Vanderbilt like that should not be a surprise. Like we should be expecting.
There's a lot of next man up haters, and I love Caden Durham, but Josh Williams have a day, son, because that's why you wear number 18, Matty B.
Yep.
Must win. And he went out there and was the best player on the field.
Yep.
Ranked top 5 positions of need portal in order of importance. That's a good story article. We'll save that for that.
Yeah.
Matty B, you're on that. Rank your top 5.
All right. I'll have that next week.
Cold Tiger, best. He might be a first time. Good man. First time ask, maybe. Best guess on biggest coaching change we see this offseason for LSU and nationwide. Mac Brown getting fired is my answer for nationwide. I thought you'd let a man at least,
Apparently they asked him, or they
earlier in the down like a G. Fire me.
He was like, "No, you got to fire me.
You're gonna have to fire me, buy out and everything, because I'm not going out like that." That was a shocker to me. But on this staff, here's what I'll tell you. Last year after the bowl game, there was word going around that Matt House was going to be fired. Brian Kelly then days later fires everybody on defense. I want to see how this OU game goes. I want to see how signing day goes. I want to see how the portal starts to go before I say who I would think would be the biggest coaching change we could see. And it won't be Brian Kelly, I'll tell you that. So, but obviously, after firing everyone on defense last year, you would presume they would also be there, but never know. New world of college football. Go Tigers 107. Will LSU be able to handle the Oklahoma front? Seems like they stink on offense, but they don't stink that bad. They rolled Bama. But their D will have an advantage if Dellinger isn't back. But their D will have if Dellinger isn't back. Thought there, Matty B. Well, can LSU handle Venables front 7?
Yeah, I mean that's my big. Sorry, I muted myself. My mic has been unplugging like crazy. Yeah, I think the blitzes from Venables is also very interesting, and like I said earlier, I think that's going to determine it. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if we got a little bit of a lower scoring game. I don't think LSU's offense is going to roll like it did at times against Vanderbilt, where it was just kind of on cruise control. I thought because they were able to block them. So I do think it's going to be a little bit more chaotic of a game. But ultimately, I still think LSU's offense has found something in simplifying it and making it easier on everybody moving forward.
Northeast Tiger, does LSU land a top 15 quarterback in next year's cycle? Sure, why not? I don't know. The rankings are so far from done. They'll look so different, and they don't have a commit yet. So, yeah, they're
Yeah.
not going to sign a non-top 15 quarterback, I don't think, now. So, yes, I'll answer probably so.
Yeah.
Tiger fan 11, happy things, but I would not know the. I'm not trying to gloss over that Northeast. I wouldn't know the name. So much is shaken up right now with Underwood no longer being in the class that
Yeah.
we have to see if they add a portal guy. Do they add someone here at the end, which is what Tiger fan 11 said. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Tiger fan 11. Would you rather LSU go after the North Carolina commit at quarterback Bryce Baker, who's taking a visit to Penn State this weekend, or get a mid-level portal guy if Nuss returns? I think a lot hinges when you talk about future quarterbacks on what you do in the portal. Matty B, I still lean that I would want a portal guy who can truly bring some competition, which might mean he needs to have some years left on his eligibility, but that I'm not trying to replace Nuss. I'm trying to have a legit competition. And if Nuss went down, I'm trying to have someone who can actually continue to win games and not the season's over.
Exactly. And I do think that is important to note here. I think there's been like conversations with like maybe LSU could go after the North Carolina quarterback with Mac Brown gone, but I'm not sure what the urgency level is right now. I do think it helps. I mean, to have, and we'll see what
They're
plays out.
feeling this out. They're feeling everything out right now.
Yeah,
Of course, they're going to feel out the North Carolina commit. Why wouldn't they? But at the same time, of course, they're going to feel out the portal quarterbacks. Why wouldn't they? They're
exactly.
going to work to get Nuss back. Of course, you will. So everything's in play right now in the wake of Underwood leaving.
Yes, sir.
Last one, Cairo Tiger with news of West Weeks taking a red shirt. Do we know who for sure is gone this year and is out of eligibility? I'll do the eligibility tracker again, and I'll
Yeah.
post that to the site. That really helped everybody. But yeah, I'll get that list of who can definitely not come back because there was some confusion on like CJ Daniels, and then Brian Kelly cleared it up and was like, yeah, I actually think he will come back too. We saw John Emery come back, when people thought he was out of eligibility. So I'll work through that. It was also odd. I think we're beyond COVID years, though, at least. So it's just medicals get weird when
This
guys
was the
get
last
injured
year.
and
This
red
was the last year of
shirts.
COVID. So
So yeah, I'll let Cairo. I'll handle that. But then he said, I thought for sure he would be gone, but with the injuries, I can see why he redshirted and then play with his brothers next year, which was the
brothers.
cool news of the week. Which was
Yeah.
now it made sense. West was hurt, and it was like, well, he's clearly your third best linebacker. Why would he redshirt? And then he's like, well, so I can take a whole nother year. And it's like, all right, that makes sense. Okay, cool, yeah, because you would have only played in like 4 more games. Why do that? Just play next year. But then
Yeah.
his brother reclassifies, commits to LSU. Now we're going to get 3. Zach did. Now we're going to get 3 Weeks brothers in the linebacker room with Blake Baker at the same time on the same roster next year. And oh boy, does it make perfect sense now why Wes Weeks redshirted. It was,
Yes.
hey, if y'all are going to play Devon Keys anyways for these couple games as a backup guy, I'll come back next year and I'll not only help you out, but I'll play with both my brothers. And that will be the first time all 3 have played together. They were not on the same team in high school at Coney
Yeah.
at the same time.
And I don't. I mean, kind of. I don't have anything to add on that particular, but I don't know if you saw before the game. They had, I guess, their either little brothers or cousins on or something. They were like 6 or 8 years old, and they were the Weeks. They were also Weeks. I think one of them was Weeks or something like that.
What? Is this real? What are you talking about?
I'm telling you, before the game, they had Weeks
What
on,
game?
and one of them had a West Weeks jersey on, the other had a Whit Weeks jersey on. They were Weeks family. I don't know the exact family
He's got
members,
a
but
sister, so it wouldn't be like an actual there's no more brothers.
okay, so let's say nephews or whatever it is. But yeah, they were like 6, 7, 8 years old and something. They had their jerseys on. I was like, oh, the pipeline continues. Just wait like 10 years and we got more.
I think this will be the first, and we'll make this a weekly tradition as we get out of here, guys. The Bengal Tiger Mailbags person of the week goes to David Weeks, the father of those 3, who played for the Georgia Bulldogs, snapped for Hines Ward, played all 3. O-line spots as a starter, including center, when Hines Ward was a quarterback. Played with Muschamp on that team, who coaches defense at Georgia. Played with Bobo, is good friends with Kirby and all them. And boy, is he not decked out in LSU gear every Saturday.
I love it.
Watching his boys with the Tigers. Despite Georgia out there winning their recent titles with Kirby, the Bengal Tigers person of the week this week is David Weeks, as he sends his third four-star son.
An entire family, an entire generation.
I just love that they all play linebacker. Like Brandon Taylor, Curtis Taylor, and Jiron Taylor, when they came out of Franklin 10, they were all on the 2008 team together as brothers, but Jiron played receiver, Curtis played safety, Brandon played safety and corner. These guys are all in the linebacker room together. So we're going to get a package. There will be no doubt. Whatever game next year allows them to go into the fourth quarter with freshmen, 4-3 defense, line it up all 3 weeks, brothers. Bank on it.
I'm going to find those. It was like 20 minutes before the game, but it was so cute. I was like little kids. And like
find it and post it to the board. Then I'll believe it. And I'll take it from there.
That was so funny. All right. Well, my computer's going to die and I'm going to go eat with my family. So hope everybody enjoys it. Hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving and enjoys all of the food and family and experience that y'all have there. So
I thought you were just going to keep talking forever. We did it under an hour, the final week of the season. I finally did it. I didn't jinx it. I'm out under an hour. Mailbag pod. Peace.
We did it. Last mailbag pod, I did it when I did it by myself. They said, "Oh, this is under an hour, first time."
Yeah,
because Shea wasn't here.
Count. I wasn't here. I was busy doing recruiting Underwood stuff.
They said that's why it was under an hour. But yeah, thank you all. Subscribe to the Bengal Tiger On3 if you haven't already. Everything recruiting, football, basketball, everything you need over there. Check us out. We appreciate y'all for joining us. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already. We will talk to y'all later.